Hi, this is Ollie. Welcome to Possibility Space. Today I'm going to read you The Instrumentalisation of the Bondi Beach Shooting. On December the 14th, two anti-Semitic gunmen fired at a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. They killed 15 people and injured over 40. While we mourned and waited for the facts to emerge, bad faith actors rushed in to claim the narrative. Their aim was to use this sickening atrocity to silence opposition to genocide. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blamed the attack, without a shred of evidence, on Australia's recognition of a Palestinian state. He also baselessly claimed that the hero who tackled one of the attackers was Jewish. Ahmed El-Ahmed, it turned out, was not. A Muslim man risking his life to save Jews challenges everything Netanyahu stands for. His clearly Islamophobic project aims to expel Muslims from the global north. So what did his media outriders do? They completely ignored the inconvenient fact. They carefully avoid mentioning Ahmed's name or his faith. They even called him spiritually Israeli. Another embattled politician twisting the attack to her own ends was Gillian Segal, Australia's politically appointed special envoy to combat anti-Semitism. Born in apartheid South Africa, she now lobbies for another apartheid state from her home in Sydney. Things have not been going well for Segal lately. Her so-called plan to combat anti-Semitism faced strong criticism. Many said that it conflated anti-Semitism with pro-Palestine advocacy. Indeed, the definition of anti-Semitism that she says, quote, must be used across all levels of government and public institutions, is so discredited that even its lead author warns against using it in this way. Quote, I drafted the definition of anti-Semitism, right-wing Jews are weaponizing it. Segal's plan includes Trump-style funding cuts to universities that she deems insufficiently deferential. It also crowns her as the arbiter of acceptable speech. These moves have faced heavy criticism. Segal has faced criticism herself for repeatedly refusing to speak out against neo-Nazis. And lastly, her husband's donations to a far-right group recently came to light. Her plan was floundering. But in the Bondi Beach tragedy, she saw an opportunity to turn things around. She declared that her controversial proposals, quote, can and should be accelerated. And she completely baselessly linked the attack to a peaceful Palestine solidarity march in August, which 300,000 people attended. Sadly, her cynical tactics appear to be working. The Australian government has said that it will speed up its response to Segal's flawed recommendations. To be clear, the Bondi Beach tragedy has nothing to do with the Palestinian cause. Police say the gunmen were driven by Islamic State ideology. They carried ISIS flags. Israel has long tried to link ISIS to the Palestinian cause. It's an effective tactic that paints Palestinians as inhuman, irredeemably evil, and therefore legitimate targets for savagery. But the truth is that the two groups are staunchly opposed. The Palestinians, like every colonized people, demand their stolen land back and want their own state. Their objectives are local and they tolerate other religious groups, something that ISIS would never do. ISIS is a theological movement with transnational ambitions. Rather than aspiring to be a member of the global community, ISIS seeks to conquer. They want to destroy the United Nations, not join it. The differences are clear and many. These groups hate each other so much that they frequently come to blows. None of this nuance matters, of course, to pro-Israel campaigners. While you were reading that last paragraph, they were busy muddying the waters. Seizing on the Bondi Beach shooting as an opportunity, they've successfully framed globalize the Intifada as a call for ISIS-style terrorism, but this is misleading. Intifada is an Arabic word for rebellion or uprising. It's been used correctly and uncontroversially for centuries. Even the US Holocaust Museum translated the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising as an intifada until bad faith agitators kicked up a fuss about it. The Dictionary of Modern Written Arabic gives this rather lyrical definition, quote, "To be shaken off, to be dusted off, to shake, to shudder, to shiver, to tremble, to wake up, to come to consciousness, to shake off one's lethargy." The term gained popularity in 1986 during the mostly peaceful Palestinian uprising against Israel's illegal occupation. This first intifada was met with shocking levels of violence and collective punishment, which led to the founding of Hamas and other armed groups and eventually a second, more violent intifada. The phrase, globalize the intifada, is used to highlight how Israel's ongoing genocide is funded, armed, and politically shielded by global North countries. It's a call for the kind of global resistance that ended South African apartheid. Once you understand this, you understand why Israel and its allies are trying to smear and ban this phrase. Critics say that it carries, quote, overtones of violence, which is a smear so vague that it's kind of difficult to meaningfully respond to. I suppose it's pertinent to point out that Palestinians do have a recognized right under international law to resist Israel's illegal occupation, and that this right includes armed struggle. Rights and definitions don't matter to these people, though. The thrust of their argument is that it's a scary word used by hairy Arabs. Yeah, it really is that crudely racist. You can see this because the bigots making the argument often erroneously substitute the word jihad. New York Democratic Senator Kristen Gillibrand had to apologize to Zoran Mamdani for claiming he'd advocated global jihad. It really is just September the 12th, 2001, all over again. London's institutionally racist Metropolitan Police Force have started arresting people for even using the word intifada, or infratata, as Britain's know-nothing politicians pronounce it. It is a ludicrous escalation by a state that has lost hegemonic control of the narrative. The police are doing this despite advice from the Crown Prosecution Service that it doesn't meet the threshold for prosecution. They're pointing to the Bondi Beach mass shooting as the reason for this policy change, but we've shown that it's not connected. Police are supposed to make arrests on reasonable grounds. Arrests that don't meet prosecution standards waste resources. They also risk silencing legitimate opposition to genocide. I find it particularly demoralizing as the pro-Palestinian father of Jewish children to be accused of supporting terrorism against my own kids. But demoralizing people is the point. Anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are clearly increasing. The question is, what should we do about it? Netanyahu and his ilk would tell you that the answer is to pick the side of Islamophobia, to build ever higher walls, and to make isolation the default mode of Jewish being. They gain from the rise in anti-Semitism, which they help create by over-enunciating the, quote, Jewishness of their genocide. Indeed, Israeli politicians describe overseas anti-Semitism as a, quote, opportunity for their ethno-state. Here is what Israeli journalist Ben Caspit has to say on the matter. Quote, I would have voted for Mamdani because I want everyone to make Aliyah. I'm a long-term consistent supporter of anti-Semitism because I'm in favour of all Jews coming here. We don't have to accept this. Ahmed El-Ahmed, the Muslim who risked his life to save Jews on Bondi Beach, shows that there is another way, safety through solidarity. He embraced multiculturalism and shunned supremacy. We should all be more like him. By rooting our anti-racism in mutual self-interest and collective liberation, we can defeat bigotry together. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Possibility Space is a listener-supported podcast. You can subscribe wherever you're listening to this, or you can become a paid member on Substack. Some acknowledgements before I sign off. This article draws on a conversation between Jewish Currents editor Ariel Angel and Mary Cohen. They chatted with Sarah Schwartz, the Melbourne-based executive officer of the new progressive and independent Jewish Council of Australia. My prescription for safety through solidarity is pilfered from a book of the same name by Shane Burley and Ben Lorber. Reading it felt like sunlight breaking through dark clouds. If you're interested in what safety through solidarity looks like in practice, there's an entire podcast episode about it a bit further up in this feed. And finally, this article is dedicated to Ahmed Al-Ahmed. Get well soon, brother.